So I know I've already talked about AI before and just how that really affects the community, but I haven't really talked about how I think it's changed perceptions of both artists and non-artists in ArtTok as a community, because I feel like it's caused a lot of difference in the way that people treat specific artists, art styles, and whatever. This might just be a me thing, but I've noticed, especially when it comes to ArtTok trends that are very heavy on getting it done in a short amount of time, there's been a lot of AI artists sort of creeping into those micro trends and then not disclosing that it's AI art. And it's very funny because a lot of these trends are based around, artist creativity specifically. Like, the one that I remember was the emotions one, where it was like a simple chart of colors and then there's like emotions, and then people would make some really amazing art with just this limited color palette, right? But then there came a bunch of different AI artists sort of sneaking into the trend, and people called them out for that. I think it's really frustrating because I've become weary of slideshow trends because of this. There's either things like stolen art or AI art, and to preface this, stolen art is nothing new to the art community. There will always be people stealing others' work in order to make a quick buck. Same thing for tracers in that sense. AI is, for some non-artists, really difficult to spot and still grow in popularity regardless. At least with tracers or art theft, you can still, for the most part, find the original artist and then go back to support that. But with AI, there's no way to find an original creator because it's stealing from so many different sources. And because of AI art's rise in the art community, there's a lot of "it's AI" comments, "you're using AI," non-artists who immediately claim that somebody's artwork is AI. And while I think some of these comments are satirical, there are some that are just genuine, like, accusations that this artist is using AI. And then usually it's followed by like a speed paint going, "This is not AI, I made this all by myself," and whatever, right? Because some AI can do speed paints, and I say can very lightly because they aren't to the point that it actually looks like a speed paint at all. It's getting to the point where if you don't have a keen eye and you're not actively looking for AI art, it's hard to tell, and the lines kind of blur a little bit depending on, the quality of the generative AI artwork. And I think the people who have to deal with this sort of thing the most is people whose art styles were used to train AI. Right off the bat, there was an artist that I remember who had all of their artwork scraped for AI on Instagram and trained on a dataset for their style. So then that art style itself became sort of associated with AI. And this isn't just one situation. This has happened to multiple artists where their art style looks unfortunately similar to the data sets that generative AI is based on, and because of that, their art is labeled AI, even though it really isn't. It is just their art style. I think it's especially upsetting for those artists because that's just their art style, and art styles like theirs have been taken without their consent and then put into data sets like this to be trained off of their art style. And even though it was theirs to begin with, it's immediately associated with AI, and they have to defend themselves saying, "No, this is just the way that I draw." And it shouldn't be that way at all. I think all of these things in mind, it's really affected artists and non-artists alike, because unless you most of the time have an artist's eye for mistakes, people can easily mistake novice artist things like inconsistent hands or incorrect anatomy with AI art. AI don't necessarily know how to create things one-to-one, and they'll always have inconsistencies. But so do artists, because artists are people. So I've noticed a couple times where people have called artists' work AI because of things like, oh, their hand looks weird or whatever, when it's just a genuine mistake. And of course, that's given. If you can't tell the difference between an AI's mistake and an artist's mistake, then you're going to assume it's AI. You know, I just think it's a huge bummer how this has affected the art community and ArtTok and just like interacting with other artists in general. And yeah, of course, if you've had this happen to you or if you've seen similar situations, I'd love to hear about them. As always, my comment section is always up for discussion. And yeah, that's all. Bye.